Ready.
So Jimmy, tell me about getting to 10,000 hours.
Eric, what happens is that the maintenance on the motors is very important. And what happens is you hear the term maintenance matters from Yamaha. Very, very important, very important. And what happens is in maintenance, people ask me all the time, when do I do oil changes? How do I flush my motors? How do I make it to 10,000? Because it's an amazing accomplishment. And what we do is we flush the motors about once a week. I have Mondays off, that's when we flush the motors with fresh water. You gotta remember, these motors run 7 days a week, night and day. So 7 days a week, we flush them, we put the attachment on it, we flush the motors. One time a week, and that's on Monday. How many times do we change oil? Oil is very important. We come here, it's your service center, and we change the motors. You know, as far as the oil in the motors, oil's in the motor unit, every 150, 200 hours. That's where I'm at. And that's the magic of keeping the motors running. Fuel filters is another one. You keep the same fuel filters, your motors are going to bog down. You change the fuel filters, now you got to remember there's 3 filters as far as in the engine itself, where you got to change brake oil, the motor, the primary, and the SDS pump as far as in the motor itself. Keep all 3 of those filters changed, you won't have a single problem with your motors.
Very well done. This is my service manager. Do you have anything else to say?
No, Jimmy just does a great job of bringing the boat in every time that he needs it in that, 100, 150 hours. And, he stays on top of it, which is the biggest part, because if you don't do maintenance, that's when you're going to run into issues. And, these motors are amazing, and you could tell on the download 10,000 hours. First time that we've heard of this being done, and it's done here solely at Eric's Outboard. Serviced by our technician, primarily Winslow, and Winslow couldn't make it here today, but he's really the one that's worked on these motors, and Eric's service program got us here, and I can't say more for what Jimmy and Eric has done to get 10,000 hours out of these things.
Right, I'd like to add one more thing to what we have to keep the video going, because this is important. As far as the engines themselves, as far as Reg 90 is the most important thing you can do for your Yamaha. You run ethanol fuel, most people, and 90% of the problems that come through here are ethanol related problems. You see them at a gas station, you have ethanol fuel, you have major wipeouts, ejector pumps. Most of the people that don't know about ethanol fuel, that's where the problem lies as far as with that. Now, a lot of people ask me as far as, Jimmy, these motors have 10,000 hours as far as on the motor heads. How do you do that? Do you idle all day long? That's the furthest part of the truth. I have people that called me yesterday, I must have had 25 phone calls. Yeah, the reason why the motors have 10,000 hours is because they're always idling. They idle, don't get me wrong. We idle when we sell bait as far as to the boats themselves. But when I'm selling bait 7 days a week, I'm running from point A to point B. I'm running at 4,000 to 4,500 RPM. You can check the downloads and see that half of the motors and the RPM are half of the life of the motor. In other words, 5,000 hours or over 4,000 RPM. We're running to the Bahamas in this boat. We go to Great Harbor.
Full of water.
All over. Yeah, we run all over.
Full of weight.
Full of weight. And we have 8 live wells in this boat, an extra 6,000 pounds as far as in this boat when I'm loaded with 8 live wells, which is unbelievable as far as the weight. People ask me all the time, do you run 21-inch props? I run 19s on this boat. All right, this boat is a 31 contender, 300 Yamahas with 19s. I don't overload the motors as far as RPM wise. 19 seems to be preferred. This is a specially built boat with 8 live wells. So if you have a lighter contender with 300s on, I'm sure the 21s would be the props to use. But people ask me, it's all on idle. That's how you got 10,000 hours. That's the furthest thing from the truth that there is. So that was something yesterday that popped up by 20 people on my phone that were nonstop on Facebook and Instagram. It's amazing.
And what type of fuel do you use again, Jimmy?
Rec 90 is the only thing to use. And we get it, and people ask me, where do I get my fuel? Do I get it from a fuel truck? No, I fuel this boat religiously at Miami Beach Marina, because I know Miami Beach Marina fuel is all Reg 90 fuel. It is Reg 90, it's proven. You go to different places and they have Reg 90 on the pump. That is so far, they'll buy the cheapest fuel. It's ethanol fuel blended in a tank that you put in your boat, and then you have injector problems. But Miami Beach Marina has never treated me in any way So I've never had a problem with my motors. I've never had injectors. I've never had an injector pump go out 10,000 hours. Never had a problem with these motors at all.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you, Jimmy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Eric.
you.